Hello, welcome to the Gemini Masterclass with me, Swati. And this video, we are going to go deep into what it means to embody Gemini energy. So what will we cover today? We are first going to start with what it means to know and feel the essence of Gemini. Then we will look at the shadows that Gemini can bring up and how it can show up in our lives. And finally, we will look at some tools on how we can start to develop a relationship with the archetype of Gemini. So wherever you have Gemini in your chart, there you are being asked to wake up and lead a new vision in that area of your life. When I tried to think of the one essence for Gemini, I couldn't. As typical of this energy, there are multiple things that it is known for. So let's look at what is Gemini medicine, its essence. The definition of medicine is something that is used for the treatment or the prevention of disease or an undesired condition. So Gemini medicine means that Gemini has something that can be used to treat our current condition or undesired state in our lives. We can look at the condition as a current state of humanity and the fact that it needs a new direction to go towards at this time of great change. And we can certainly apply Gemini medicine here, which is related to these concepts: words, communication, language, expression, vision, curiosity, perspective, openness, lightness, humor, joy, fun, creativity, and magic. Gemini, being an air sign, relates to the mental realm. It concerns how we perceive the world, how we cognize, and how we communicate. It actually plays an important role in our life on Earth to help us to see that there are multiple perspectives to anything, not to take anything seriously, and to move beyond the polarity of duality, which is looking at things as only good or bad, right or wrong, black or white, and all these things can get us stuck in the heaviness of day-to-day life on Earth. So all of the above form the essence of Gemini, which can then be summed up as a way to shift the heaviness we feel in our life to something lighter, to soften the vibration of heaviness to lightness and joy through using various tools like humor, creativity, language, expression, and so on. Now we'll go more into detail into each of these qualities of Gemini. Let us start first with words, language, and communication. Words are our power. Words create. When we are wanting to embody Gemini, we must view words as one of our superpowers or our medicine. Meaning, how we use our words is super important. We can influence and are being influenced by the choice of words that we use or that we hear. Words create or conjure up feelings in our body. They can heal or destroy. They can inspire or deflate. When people talk to each other, there is an energetic transmission that takes place between them. The tone they use, their facial expression, body language, how they express, choice of words, all of these things convey something. We must become aware of the impact our words have on the opposite person and be conscious of the language that we are using on a regular basis. So this means that there is a sense of responsibility placed on us for using our words carefully, for using this tool, this magic wand, this medicine appropriately, and to not misuse it. Gemini is often viewed as the communicator, bringing in all sorts of news to the community. So first we want to look at the words we are using to communicate. What are the words that we use on a daily basis to talk to ourselves, to talk about ourselves to others, and to talk to others about others? Are our words uplifting or are they not? Are they helping to construct our lives or pull them down? Words are intricately related to the power of intention, which is intentionally using words to create something in your life. Which is why this quality of Gemini is an important one to pay attention to. So let's look at an exercise that can help us to become aware of the words that we use. For a full couple of days, track the words you use. Let yourself observe the words you think, the words you speak, and the words you write. Pay particular attention to the words that you repeat often. Are you conscious of these, or are you using them by default? How do these words make you feel? Your body will give you a clue to this. This is an important exercise to do consistently, as many of the remaining exercises in the masterclass will be based on this observation. And then we want to look at what are we communicating, not just from our words, but also other ways of expression. Do we feel free enough to express who we truly are? And this leads us to the next quality of Gemini, which is freedom of expression. This essence is linked to the quality of freedom that Gemini brings. Gemini, being an air sign, needs freedom and space, the allowing to be. Are we able to express who we truly are? We express via many means. Our words, of course, but also through our work, our creativity, our gestures, the way we dress, walk, body posture, and language, etc. If we don't allow ourselves the freedom to be who we are, then expressing our true self becomes harder. Then communicating becomes harder because we are doing it through a filter that doesn't let our original essence shine through. So let's look at an exercise on how we can start to free ourselves up. The slides give just a few questions, but the associated handout with the slides and the video recording will give you more questions to journal on. How freely do you express your true self? Are you expressing yourself truly, or is your expression coming through a filter of what others want to hear? Are you allowing yourself to say what you really want? How comfortable do you feel in your body? Now let's look at the next essence of Gemini, which is creativity. This essence is linked to the quality of freedom and feeling free enough to create. Allowing ourselves to create like a beginner, like a child would do, giving ourselves safety for that inner child to be curious and to experiment. This then leads to creating without attachment to the result. Oftentimes when we create, we want our end product to look a certain way. And that brings an attachment to the result on how we want it to look, which really prevents us from experimenting and failing and trying things that we may not otherwise allow ourselves to do. The essence of Gemini is being the messenger, to channel without worrying about how it may be received, without worrying about who judges it as what. That means creating for the sake of creating, without the agenda of the end result. without overanalyzing what comes through, without judging the skills or technique it displays. So ask yourself, do you think of yourself as creative? Do you judge your creations? What words do you use when you look at your creations? Okay, now the next essence of Gemini is associated with the words curiosity, perspective, openness, and flexibility. Gemini's inherently curious nature allows it to experiment, to see other perspectives, which then leads to multiple choices. It's a mutable sign. That means it's a sign that we experience in between seasons. That means when the seasons are changing from spring to summer. And that mutable quality finds it easy to open to other points of view. It finds it easy to be flexible enough to change without being attached to a particular viewpoint. This characteristic of Gemini is really important because it helps us to expand our mind to different ways of thinking, to different ways of assimilating information. And this quality of Gemini allows it to be a mentally agile sign, able to take in and process large amounts of information. This can then allow us to break old ways of thinking and open up to new ways of being, a quality that can definitely come in handy in our current point in time. So, an exercise to do to awaken this quality within you is this. If you're stuck on a particular issue, ask yourself, what are 3 other ways of looking at this problem? Try to see it from different vantage points or perspectives. Do more pathways open up for you to move ahead when you do this? Get used to expanding your mind voluntarily by developing the power of curiosity. Ask what if questions. What if it were not so? What if I tried this instead of that? What if I did this and it worked beyond my wildest dreams? This can also help us to develop the power of imagination. And ask yourself, how do you use imagination? Do we imagine negative things? Or do we use it to imagine something new and fantastic? Rule breaker. That is one essential quality of Gemini. Gemini is also known as a free electron of the zodiac. That means it has freedom or license to do it its own way. It's a rule breaker. It knows how to bend the rules or go beyond them. This quality allows it to go beyond the rules of duality and polarity, to see different perspectives not seen by the prevailing culture. It doesn't get encumbered by shoulds or rules. One thing to watch out for here as you perform this exercise is watch where you use the word should. It could indicate that you're trying to play by a rule that is restricting your inherent sense of freedom. And that's the opposite of the quality of freedom that Gemini wants to live by. The next very important essence of Gemini is its ability to shift vibration. Gemini is a master at shifting heaviness to lightness, shifting a heavy vibration of stuckness to lightness of movement. It knows how to do this by using techniques like humor, joy, fun, creativity, magic, comic relief. A lot of folks who have Gemini in their chart know how to use comedy to lighten up a situation. They use their words in a particular way to bring lightness. Other energetic tools that you can use to bring lightness are vibrational tools related to the air realm, like sound, Sound can shape, form, or break up matter. Vibrational flower essences, essential oils which carry the vibration of flowers, crystals, color, music, song, singing, etc. So here you want to take note of what tools do you naturally turn to lighten up a heavy situation in your life. How easily are you able to access humor? When was the last time you had a full belly laugh? Do you find it hard or difficult to sing? Why or why not? Now let's look at the shadow aspects of Gemini. The shadow aspects are undesirable ways a sign may show up because it's not able to access the real essence of it, or there is something blocking it from accessing the real essence. So these are some things we may want to take note of to transform so that we can embody the real essence. Let's look at the first one. Misuse of words. Now we know that words are one of the superpowers of Gemini. It concerns communication and using words appropriately. And the shadow of it shows up as using words towards things like lies, deceit, and gossip. This can be particularly evident in the news and media, where words can be used to sway just about any story and situation. And there's a lot of fake news that we read. Remember, there are often multiple sides to every story, and question everything you hear. Now, this shadow can also show up in the way we speak to ourselves. It can also show up as a confused message, using too many words, not being able to use a select few words to communicate what we want. Overuse of words that blurs the clarity of our message. So the exercise here that you want to do is watch the words you use. Do they ring with truth? Or is there mild or more exaggeration in them? How often does this show up and in what situations? Are you able to put across your points succinctly? Or do you tend to ramble on and on? Do others understand what you are communicating? Or do you need to explain yourself more than once? The next shadow of Gemini is overanalysis in the mind. Gemini is an air sign and it represents the mental realm, and it is adept at mental abilities. However, the shadow can show up as being too much in the mind and head. Too much of analysis in the head rather than allowing it to sink into the body. Using the mind to escape. Neglecting the body. And using the mind to escape. This could lead to issues like anxiety and nervousness. So ask yourself, do you tend to overanalyze everything in your life? What practices do you have for regularly grounding yourself and for bringing yourself into your body? Grounding is really important for an air sign like Gemini. So practices that help you to be in your body, meditations that bring you into the body, paying attention to what the body needs or what the senses are experiencing are good ways to ground yourself. Choices, choices, choices. That's the next shadow of Gemini. Now, choices are not a bad thing, but Gemini's ability to look at multiple perspectives and its open-mindedness and curiosity could sway the other extreme, where it has so many choices it can't decide what to do. Or it just goes from thing to thing, trying out everything without staying on one thing for long. That means it changes too much and too often. This can then show up as being easily distracted, bored, frivolous, and not be able to focus. being undecided, as many ideas are springing forth, but none of them are being completed. So ask yourself, do you find it easy to focus and make decisions in your life? Do you have a lot of distractions in your life? Be honest here and work to really cut out distractions. Take steps to reduce overwhelm, particularly mental overwhelm. Lack of reverence. That is the next shadow of Gemini. Now we know that Gemini is a rule breaker. It knows where not to get caught up in the shoulds, but it could sway the other way and not have any reverence for the rules. No respect for the law and structure and authority. It could end up breaking rules for the sake of breaking them or just having blatant disrespect for them. This shadow can also show up as trying to make light of a situation that is heavy inappropriately or not using humor in the right situation that doesn't call for it. So you want to ask yourself here, how do you view rules made by other people? Avoiding the heavy stuff. Now, Gemini does not like the underworld. This shadow aspect of Gemini can show up because it likes to stay on the surface. It likes things to be light and joyful. This is, of course, not bad per se, but that does mean that Gemini can get so addicted to the lightness of things that the moment life gets heavy, when it gets complicated or messy, Gemini could try to run away or avoid it. Simply put, it doesn't like going into the underworld. So when transits like Venus in the Gemini overtone, or when Pluto or Chiron go through Gemini, then it can find it really hard to go into the murky depths of feelings. If you have a lot of air signs in your chart and not much water signs, it's likely that this shadow aspect may show up for you. Another way the shadow of staying on the surface can show up is that Gemini may not be able to handle the details. That means it may not want to get its hands dirty doing the work of living a messy life or taking care of intricacies in a big project. So it may try to just stay on the surface of things and not commit to a deeper sense of living. This can show up as being afraid of committing to anything, not wanting to feel tied down. So ask yourself, how easily can you access your emotions? How easy do you find it to take care of the details? Do you enjoy it, or is that something that you try to avoid? Noise. This shadow aspect of Gemini can show up as so much mental stimulation and noise that it blocks out our inner guidance. So much distraction that it's hard to focus on what's important. The consumption of too much information, that is what we can see as a shadow of Gemini. And this can be compared to a buffet, eating a little bit of all the items on display. Imagine going to a buffet and eating a bit of this and that without actually enjoying everything. It can feel like that when we are consuming so much and filling our minds so much that it's hard to listen to inner wisdom and invisible sources of guidance. We need solitude and silence to listen to inner guidance. And Gemini's need to be connected to everything can prevent that from happening. So when we are looking to awaken Gemini in ourselves, things can get overwhelming if we don't have a practice of regularly clearing the mind. So ask yourself, do you allow a mental fast now and then? Does the thought make you uncomfortable? If so, why? So let's summarize the essence of Gemini. Gemini is about our words and language to create a new story, to write a new story for ourselves, our families, and communities, using our words to inspire and empower, and having a clear, concise message, awakening our creativity and channeling our ideas and creations with no attachment, awakening its mutable nature that allows for flexibility and change and new perspectives, to shift our mental stories through language and bring back magic into our lives. It's about learning to be masterful by shifting vibration and energy to lightness and fun. So hopefully this gives you a sense of what Gemini energy is all about. Now let's look at some of the tools that we can use to start embodying the essence of Gemini. Since Gemini concerns words and communication, journaling on the questions that we have gone through in the sections above is important. Be sure to journal on them to allow for more insights to come in about which aspects of Gemini you would like to embody and which ones to change. There is also an activity sheet attached with this presentation. Look at that attached sheet and look at the words that are used to describe Gemini essence and shadow. Circle the ones that you want to focus on and journal on those. Rituals to ground and personal connection to the air realm. One way of connecting to Gemini is to connect to the element of air. Ask yourself, how do you relate to the air element? Does air flow freely in your home and in your surroundings? Or is there clutter around? Do you breathe in clean, fresh air on a regular basis? How is your breath? Long and deep or shallow? To develop a deeper relationship with the element of air, you can go out and breathe fresh air and connect to it with intention. Remember, air represents the mental realm. So the cleaner and clearer the air that we breathe and allow ourselves to take in, the cleaner and clearer our thoughts and words. We talked about this earlier, which is that grounding is essential for air signs like Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. That means that we want to bring an idea from the mind to the body. Shift the focus from just being in the mind to bringing it into the body so we can make it a reality. And there are many practices to ground, which include writing, sounding, and painting. Having a regular meditation practice which focuses on the body or the senses also helps. Finally, one way to connect to the Gemini energy is to create a collage based on what you have learned here. Cut out pictures and magazines, pictures and images from magazines on what it feels to be a Gemini and put them on a cardstock. That collage will help you to connect to the Gemini energy on a regular basis. Keep it where you can see it regularly and inhale that into your body. That brings us to the end of this Gemini Masterclass. Thank you.